Hello and welcome to The Wave of Things. My name is André Savitier. About 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by Adam Uzi, who is a solo artist from Augsburg in Germany. He showed me his new album In Plastic Bloom, which came out earlier this year. It is very interesting and exquisite synthpop music, and also his appearance is quite extravagant. But this is actually all I know about him. That's why I decided to invite him for a little talk.
I check my watch to know the time. Did you just really leave me high and dry? Can't you see me in the light? Can't you see me in the I don't know why you leave or two plastic flowers and I don't know why. What's wrong? Got some plastic flowers.
I'm here today with Adam Uzi from Germany, namely from Augsburg. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You recently released your second album in March, no, in February, you said, on Valentine's Day. So I have to admit, I was not familiar with you before, so I don't know really a lot, and that's why we're here, no? Adam, what brought you in this kind of music, where you are now?
I think it all started out in late 2015. I was pretty much into the indie pop, indie rock scene back to the day. And there was a band called The Drums, maybe you know them. And the singer has a familiar dance style to Ian Curtis. So a lot of fans wrote, hey, that's totally like Joy Division, blah, blah. And I didn't really know that band, so I just Googled it and I fell in love with Joy Division and also noticed that there are a lot of bands I already knew, like Be Forest or Human Tetris, like the whole post-punk thing. And I wanted to do that myself also, and was looking for some musicians that would join me, but it turned out nobody is motivated to do so. So I thought, okay, maybe you can do that in a electronic way. And yeah, so I wrote in I think it was Facebook, searching for musicians, blah blah, and one of them was Marcel from Young and Cold Records, and he invented me to the whole new wave scene, and so I got addicted pretty fast. I stopped doing my band I was doing before called Clouds, but that's not that important. And bought my first synthesizer and I went going.
What did you play before then in this other band? Were you a singer?
In my really first band I played bass. We were called 1018. Like you can see when you open a cigarette box, it says 1018. Was the first thing I did, and then we more came into pop punk kind of environment. And then I had an indie pop band that was my last one, where I only sang, and it was more acoustic, with an acoustic guitar, a keyboarder, and me singing. I was shouting and singing in a post-hardcore band, so that's why I still sometimes use my shouting skills in my music.
How long did it take you to get familiar with the synthesizer?
Yeah, like I said, I got to know Marcel from Facebook, and he's a good friend with Daniel Hallhuber, and he runs the Young and Cold Records label. And the first thing I remember is that he showed me his studio, and the Young and Cold Records studio is pretty big. There are a lot of analog synthesizers, analog stuff, and it's just massive. And he showed me all of his projects, bands he already recorded in there. And yeah, I think that was my first sign of really wanting to do something with synthesizers.
You also had quite some concerts and played at some festivals, as I read. How does it look like when you are playing live? How can we imagine this?
At the beginning of my career, I was trying to do everything live, and I was just standing beneath my keyboards and synthesizers and stuff. And as you have to travel a lot, it's a lot of luggage, and it's not very cool for the performance. I decided to reduce it a bit, and now it's like half of the time I'm still just playing live, and the other half of the time I'm getting out of control, screaming, shouting, running on the stage, and have fun just singing. Yeah, so I think it's pretty dramatic, but that's what I wanted. Blood, sweat and tears.
I saw also that you're a friend with Jack from Soft Riot, and you visited him in Glasgow. Yeah. How did you get
exactly.
to know each other?
I think it was in 2016 when he played at an event at the Ballonfabrik in Augsburg, and the Ballonfabrik is our label intern place where we still do all our Decadence parties, the Young and Cold Festival and stuff like that. And I'm always doing some technic stuff there and the light shows. So we got to talk backstage and had a fun time. So my friend Micha invited him to play Karlsruhe, and I did support him. So I did the support show for him, and yeah, we were both liking our music, I think. And so he just was like, okay, maybe we can do something in Great Britain or Scotland sometime. And a year later, we finally really did it. So I got to see to play Glasgow and London in March this year, and it was a super fun time.
You're from Augsburg. How is it there with this kind of music? Do you have a scene there or parties?
Yeah, basically, I think like in every smaller city, the scene is also pretty small, but we have a lot of people that really want to do something. So we have Dania that is doing the studio, Marcel doing all the management, a lot of musicians that are part of the scene, and especially our parties with all the staff. And like we are maybe 30 wavers in Augsburg, but everyone is doing much. So it's a small thing in Augsburg, but when you go to Augsburg, you will see that there's a lot to discover still.
Let's go to your music. What are you singing about mostly? What are your lyrical themes?
Most of the time it's like when something bothers me, or when I'm depressed, or so stuff that bothers me socially. That is part of my music, like my inner fears, my inner feelings. And when it's too much for me, I just write about it. So that's the biggest part, I think, like falling in love, breakups, stuff like that. It's also a point, like just my life, because I don't want to speak for everybody else. I want to speak for myself. But I also don't try to write like stories from A to B, but rather I want people to reflect and to have their own feelings about what I'm singing. What's important to me is the Shoah. The Shoah, like the Holocaust. My grandpa was a Jew from Hungary originally, and I didn't know that. Like I think I noticed it 5 years ago, maybe, because it was like a little family secret. So for me, it's just a tough topic, and I want to write about it because I want to discover myself. So it just made sense for me to write something about that too.
How is the reaction to your music? Do you get a lot of feedback from the people?
I think I do, especially when I play live. Especially when I had my first gigs. Now some people know me, they see me twice, they won't go to me and say again like, "Whoa." But especially in the beginning, I often got good feedback for my voice. I feel blessed that people like my music, but still you gotta say it's a small label and I'm not the best musician when it comes to playing a keyboard and stuff like that, because I just got to know that kind of working. I think the feedback is right for me. Too much wouldn't be good either, so.
Do you want to add something in the end? What wasn't mentioned yet?
If you like the interview, go to the Young and Cold website, youngandcold.de, or visit my Bandcamp, adamuzi.bandcamp.com, and listen to my songs. I would feel blessed if you considered doing that. And thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, and good luck for your musical work. Adam, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In Plastic Bloom is definitely an album worth listening to. Adam was so kind to provide us with 3 Bandcamp codes. So if you comment below this video what your favorite song of this album is, Plastic Bloom could be yours for free. As always, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.